Welcome back everybody to One Piece chapter 1017. My name is Sai and I'm coming at you super late at night because the translations were just released, and let's just get this started. I really like this week's cover page, mainly because we haven't seen Buggy in a long fucking time, and I just think this is Oda's way of telling us to buy AMC stock if you haven't already. So to start the chapter, we start off with Tama, and she's about to give these magnificent orders that we've been waiting weeks for. She's been teasing us, she's been blueballing us for a while now. And here, in the very beginning of the chapter, I was shocked, because I genuinely thought that Tama was gonna pass out and she wouldn't wake up again. Like, Oda was just gonna tease us one more time, just one more week after this. And the thing is that Queen didn't even use like Conqueror's Haki or anything to really make her pass out. He just kind of yelled at her. I wouldn't even say yell. The text wasn't even in bold. It just had like one or two exclamation marks, and then Tama being like 50 feet away just passed out. So that was very scary at first, but a couple pages down, we get the revelation that she wakes up and she finally gives those long-awaited orders. And they're very disappointing to say the least. That's mainly because everybody who speculated what her orders might be, we all held in the back of our minds the thought that, oh, maybe she's just gonna tell the Smile users to finally help them out. But that can't be happening because the Smile users would have been helping them all along. Why wouldn't they be helping the Alliance when they immediately got fed the Kibi Dango? But that turns out to not be the case. I guess the Smile users that already had the Kibi Dango were still attacking Jimbei, Inuarashi, and Frankie, and pretty much everybody else. So Tama finally puts the nail in the coffin. She tells everybody to switch sides in a giant magic act, and it's all really cool, but it's something that we all knew was gonna happen, and it just wasn't a good revelation on my end. But speaking of which, now that we know that Tama didn't have these guys on our sides until this very moment, what do the numbers look like now? Because last week when CP9, or CP0, I'm sorry, when CP0 was given the play-by-play, they're like, oh, we got like 20k here, we got 7k here, shit's going nuts. What are the numbers now? Because apparently 3,000 plus defectors came from Queen actually shooting the Ice Oni bullets at them. So if 3,000 people were converted just with that, what do the numbers look like now? And since we don't have an exact number on how many gifters there actually are, we can take a good little guesstimate, because when we were first introduced to the different groups in Kaido's army, we have like the pleasures, the gifters, and the waiters and all them, it looked like he spread it out pretty evenly. So assuming that there's an equal amount in each group divided by 20,000, we have around 6,600 in each group. But let's also be a little bit giving here and say, oh, there's not a lot of gifters, mainly because the survival rate is so low. You know, like if Kaido's army was 100% gifters, that'd be insane, because that would be a clean sweep in the favor of the Straw Hats. So we got 6,500, and let's be a little bit giving. Let's say there's only 3,000 of them, because the survival rate is low and a lot of people are waiting to get those fruits. So even with the jump of 3,000 people, the Straw Hats went from 7,000 to 10,000, whereas Kaido's army went from 20k to 17,000, which I think that's a pretty big jump in favor towards the Straw Hats, mainly because you gotta imagine, on the low end, they got around 3,000 additional people that all have these Smile Devil Fruits. They have artificial Devil Fruits, whereas Kaido's 17,000, they're all just pleasurers and waiters now. Like these are just guys with, you know, knives and swords. They don't really have Haki, they're just chilling. And here they are having to fight some guy with like scorpion toes and, you know, like laser beam eyeballs made from lizard cock. I don't know. Like, it's insane. And Oda's just building it up to where it's reasonable that the Straw Hats would win. Against overwhelming odds, the Straw Hats are now more poised to win than ever. So anyways, back to the chapter before Tama gives the order. I don't want to get too sidetracked here, jump too willy-nilly, but we cut to Jimbei and Who's Who, the first portion we get of them. And we start off with one of Who's Who's cat girls shooting Jimbei. I don't know if he dodged it, and I don't know if he just took the bullet, because it could go either way. We have the sound effect coming from Jimbei, but we also have this like little black dots behind Jimbei. I'm just gonna go with the fact that he shot and he took it like a fucking champ. Jimbei's facial expression did not change. Like somebody just shot him and he's just like... And we have Who's Who, who's just kind of laughing at him like, oh, the odds are in our hands, like... And it's so funny because when you think about One Piece in general and how a lot of their fights typically go, even if there's this massive army behind you just fighting the opposing side, whenever you have two people fighting, it's normally just a one-on-one. You look at Marineford, a lot of that was one-on-ones until, somebody barged in, but they never even came in for a back shot. They never came in for a dirty play. Here, we have Jimbei fighting Who's Who. We have Frankie fighting Sasaki. We have Inuarashi fighting Jack, and then you have people butting in, attacking these guys from behind, or just inconveniencing them left and right. And it's like, wow. Throughout the entire series, a lot of our fights have been very respectable. A lot of these fights have been one-on-ones traditionally. And the only exception so far that I can think of is in Whole Cake Island, when Luffy's fighting Katakuri, and then that one girl, I don't know her name, she's kind of a throwaway character, even though she's here actually. Even though she's on Onigashima right now, she's kind of a throwaway character. But she has this balloon body, you know who I'm talking about. She shoots a poison dart at Luffy, and Katakuri notices it, and he gets mad. He's like, why did you interrupt my sacred duel? He ripped off his scarf, showed his face. He was upset that somebody interrupted his one-on-one. And then you flip the scripts. You come to Kaido's army, and a lot of their fights have not been one-on-ones. A lot of people are intervening. With Marco, you have Perospero, you have King and Queen butting in. Here you have, the cat girl shooting Jimbei. You have people just butting in left and right, taking whatever shot they can. And I like that it's almost a recurring theme in Kaido's army and how they fight. Because when you think back to just the Kaido versus Odin fight, that's how Kaido won. He won because the person with Mr. Two's Devil Fruit came in and transformed to Momonosuke, and that's how Kaido was, able to land that final blow on Odin. So I like that Oda is actually taking that and just kind of running with it. He's like, yeah, Kaido fights a little bit dirty, his whole army fights a little bit dirty. So while we're speaking of the one-on-one matchups, I have to mention a particular matchup that I think myself and a lot of people have doubted over the past couple weeks, and that is the Inuarashi versus Jack matchup. I look in the comments of a lot of One Piece videos. I love watching a bunch of different reviewers, and I've seen a lot of people speculate on who is gonna fight Jack. And the thing is, Inuarashi's been fighting him for a couple chapters now, but even then, people are still saying, who's gonna fight Jack? Who's gonna take his head off? And with this chapter, and with Oda finally solidifying the one-on-one aspects thanks to Tama's orders, the fact that Inuarashi is going to be the one that will take down Jack is becoming more and more apparent. And I feel like the reason why a lot of people didn't want this to be the case was mainly because Inuarashi isn't exactly an exciting character to watch fight. Whenever we've seen him on screen, he just kind of, throws his sword around. He doesn't really have any named attacks or any hype moves. So I'm kind of curious to see how Oda plays this out. Maybe the clouds maybe the clouds uncover the sky. Maybe Inuarashi shoots him up all the way to the rooftop. Maybe he just creates a giant hole to where he can go Sulong again. And then we see some crazy actions from that. But besides that, how interesting will the Inuarashi fight be? I, for one, have always been a fan of these side fights, but I also want them to be very entertaining. Like, when Carrot and Wanda were fighting Perospero, I was excited because I was like, oh shit, we might actually get, a full-blown chapter dedicated to it, and that'll be really exciting to see. And now, the chances of us getting a full Inuarashi chapter, at least like a half one, of him fighting Jack, I hope that Oda is able to make Inuarashi a interesting character, because so far, other than the backstory, because the Odin backstory is just fucking heartbreaking, besides that, I think Inuarashi isn't really too much of a fan favorite character. So moving past the matchups, because I feel like I could personally go on forever about that, we have Tama officially giving her orders, and we have Queen about to shoot a little bolt, a little beam at Tama. I don't know how these people can just willingly attack kids. I know they're pirates, I know they're not exactly good people, but damn, like Queen was about to obliterate her. But that being said, while Tama's giving the speech, we have a little checkups on Momonosuke, who's crying about Okiku, Kinemon, and all the rest. We have Luffy, who's currently being saved, brought back to life by the Heart Pirates. I feel like the reason why Oda puts those panels in is because A, it looks pretty cool. It's nice to check up on them, but B, because we don't want to run into a Denjiro situation where we haven't seen the man in the past like 4 or 5 chapters. And now people are making full-blown theories on where is Denjiro, what is he doing, what crazy thing is gonna happen. Because if Oda went a chapter without showing Luffy or Momonosuke, people would start to speculate, like, oh, what if Luffy is already alive? What if he's on his way to fight Kaido right now? Momonosuke, what if he's lifting Onigashima so it doesn't fall on Wano? So I feel like that's Oda's way of saying, hey, they're right here, don't worry about them, this isn't their chapter. So past that, we have Sanji, who the thing is with Sanji, until he beats somebody, I don't really want to call it a feat just yet. And if he beats Queen, I think that's going to be a mad flex. This is going to be one of Sanji's most pivotal moments, and I really hope Oda does not take this away from us, because Sanji, the last really important person he fought was Jabra back in Eni's lobby. That was like a major one-on-one. I still look at the AMVs to this day. And past that, he's only really fought fodder. He's helped fight people, but it's nothing that really put him in the spotlight. So him fighting Queen, and Queen going this crazy hybrid form and having some Germa backstory, I'm really fucking excited. And with Yamato and Jimbei joining the crew, we need some Straw Hats to stand up. We need Zoro, which he's already had a massive glow up this entire arc, but we now need Sanji, who was part of that monster trio. We need him to glow up, and I think this is the perfect chance, so please, Oda, do not mess this up for us. Which I doubt he will, because Oda's a fucking god at some points. But, on to Queen. His design. I like it, and I don't like it. It's almost strange to look at. He looks like Doc Ock from Spider-Man. He's just an amalgamation of these weird machine parts, which I think speaks really well of his character. This is exactly who he is. Personally, I just think he looks really clunky. Realistically, I just don't know how he's gonna fight. Like, is he gonna come at you with those tentacles? Is he gonna shoot lasers out of the tentacles? Is he a swordsman? But the thing is, I don't think he's a swordsman. People are like, oh, I knew it. Queen's a swordsman. Zoro's gonna fight him and Sanji's gonna die. And it's like, no, like, that's a throwaway sword. He's legitimately carrying a sword that you could find anywhere in the One Piece series. Like, fodder has those swords. So personally, when it comes to Queen's fighting style, I can see him just kind of throwing everything at Sanji. He's just gonna use whatever he can that's in his arsenal or in his modified body and just attack him. Which I'm really curious to see how Sanji will actually fight that. Because Jabra, which was Sanji's, last major opponent, he was more of a martial artist. And now he's being attacked by this essentially walking piece of metal. So I'm kind of interested to see how that goes. As far as Sanji feats, I can see him throwing on the raid suit, but past that, he needs something more than Diable Jambe, or however the fuck you pronounce that. And the thing is, last time we saw it, or even a couple, arcs back, whenever he uses it, it kind of harms his leg. I feel like he's gotten better at it to where he doesn't really mention it, but I remember one of the first times he's used it, he was like, oh no, my leg's on fire, oh god. We don't really see that problem anymore. And I feel like now that he has the raid suit, would it be possible to set both of his legs on fire and feel no damage because of the suit itself? So I'm kind of curious. And also, if he turns invisible, will the fire still be visible, or will it also go invisible with him? That's also another question. Shoutouts to Queen, by the way, who just randomly drops random lore on us that Sanji doesn't even know about. Like, he's like, oh, your judge's son, oh man, it just riles my jimmies when I think about my past and what happened with Mads, and it's just like, bro, like, nobody asked. What are you talking? Like, where did this come from? Why are you talking about this? Do you keep up with the news? Sanji just recently discovered that his family was after him. He just confronted them after many, many years. What are you on about? And the thing is, you could say, oh, Wano's a secluded country. Queen doesn't get the news. They do get the news. Kaido gets the news. All of his people get the news. It's just the citizens of Wano that don't. So Queen should know that Sanji doesn't have really good ties with Judge. Or this could just be speaking volumes of Kaido's army versus Big Mom's, because Big Mom was touted as this information giant. They know every secret there is to know. And then you have Kaido, which are just, I wouldn't call them idiots, but damn, like, what are you doing here, man? Just randomly spilling your secrets? Randomly spilling your lore? And then we have who's just dropping the fact that he's CP9 and the failed missions of when he was working for the world government. These guys just love dumping lore on us, which, I'll take all of it, because we don't know too much about the One Piece world quite yet. We think we do, but realistically we don't. And the thing is that we could go on for hours discussing what Queen could be talking about with Mads. And in my personal opinion, if I had to just throw my guess out there, just kind of shot in the dark, sad is what makes the artificial devil fruits, you know? That's what Caesar Clown makes, that's what Kaido buys, and that's how they make this shit. So, since mad is the opposite of sad, I would just assume that mad has to do with extracting somebody's devil fruit. That's just my guess though, and I would say that Blackbeard definitely perfected that. But until Queen decides to just, give us more random information about the world, we really have no idea what he's talking about. So, moving on, we have the Chopper segment, and this, I want to say, has been one of the most divisive parts of the chapter for a lot of people. People are saying, oh, Zoro's getting an easy out, the drug means absolutely nothing, he's not really going to suffer afterwards, he's taken massive damage and he just kind of walks it off, double damage, that means nothing to Zoro. And the thing is that this is One Piece. This is a shonen anime. We all knew that Zoro was going to get another fight. We knew that he had to recover. It was just a matter of how he was going to recover. And let's be real here. How else would this man get out of this mummy-looking coffin other than some miracle drug from Zoe? And the thing is that miracle drugs have really been with us through the entirety of One Piece, albeit in different forms. We've had Ivankov shove Luffy with some random hormones that, cured him, and Luffy was able to fight 3 more times and survive poison and death. We had this shit in Alabasta. We literally had drugs wherever we went in One Piece. I'm surprised that drugs aren't really an issue in the world government just yet. Like, I'm surprised they're not banning this shit. It's in Fishman Island. The fishes are taking this to turn the frogs gay. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and I really don't mind that Zoro got this, quote-unquote easy out. I hope Oda is going to give us another badass panel of Zoro taking massive damage, and he's just kind of standing there. You know what I'm talking about. At the end of Thriller Bark, where Zoro takes, like, all that damage from Luffy, essentially double damage, and he just kind of stands there, and we get a really badass pose. I hope that Oda does this with the end of Wano as well, where Zoro's finally done beating Queen or King or whoever he ends up fighting, and then you just see Zoro like, ah, yes, this is double damage here. Chopper gets I don't want to call it a new form, it's really just a side effect, but it is one of the strangest side effects I have seen in a goddamn minute. Chopper, after using the Rumble Ball for 30 minutes, which is a huge boost. 3 minutes, 10 minutes compared to 30 minutes, huge boost. So, because of this side effect, he turns into a baby version of Chopper that still has the face of adult Chopper, but has the voice of an old man. This is just one of those moments where I just don't really know how to react. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just strange. I don't know. Obviously, there's not supposed to be benefits because it's a side effect, but how is this ever gonna really come into play afterwards? I remember when Luffy first unlocked Gear 3rd, he used it and then he immediately turned into a chibi version of Luffy. The fans, the One Piece fandom was so annoyed by that, by this random thing, because they were like, oh, whenever Luffy goes strong, he's gonna turn, or whenever he uses Gear 3rd, he's gonna turn into this little kid for like, 10 minutes, and that's just really annoying. So Oda decided to get rid of that. He scrapped the idea. We never really saw him turn into a kid ever again, minus like some random OVAs. So, I wonder if Oda will get rid of this baby Chopper form. Maybe he'll be like, oh yeah, Chopper got stronger, he perfected Caesar's Rumble Ball, and he no longer has this weird side effect. And now, onto the final part of the chapter, we have the Who's Who segment, which Oda drops a giant mystery bomb on us. We don't know what's gonna happen, we don't know what Luffy's Devil Fruit means, but before I get to that, we have the fight portion between Jimbei and Who's Who. And I gotta say, this was pretty fire, man. This was super fucking good. The comedic sense of Oda just knows no bounds. The fact that Who's Who has this giant sheath on him, and he reveals that it's a tiny kitchen knife. It's a little knife. It's very Mihawkish. And he also says Hagan, which is knife gun, and he just does a regular slash. It's supposed to be reminiscent of Shigan, which is, the finger gun that CP9 uses. But instead of actually shooting the knife out like a gun, he just does a normal swipe, which I thought was kind of comedic in a sense. Jimbei deflects it with some fishman karate, and then we get a little bit of back and forth between them. Who's Who turns into his hybrid form, which looks really fucking juicy, and then he shoots out this crazy Arlong-esque shark bite attack that just destroys the wall behind him, and it's really cool. Oda just put so much effort into this fight scene, and if he can do this much with the Jimbei versus Who's Who, I'm excited to see what the rest of the fights in Wano looks like. It gives me hope for that Jack versus Inuarashi fight to be actually really exciting. And with the Jimbei and Who's Who fight officially kicking off, I wonder if Oda will ever give us a little bit of info dumping on what are the rankings of the Tobi Roppo. You know, maybe Who's Who is at the very top, we have Black Maria right underneath, and then we have Sasaki, Ulti, and then Page 1 at the very bottom, which, rest in peace, Page 1. I think he had a really cool fucking design. Too bad it was just kind of, thrown away because he got beaten by Big Mom. Not really thrown away, he just didn't have a 1v1. I wish Page 1 and Ulti did have a really good 1v1. Nami's, in my opinion, was cool, but it ended way too quick for me. But with that being said, if Jimbei were to beat Who's who is directly underneath the Calamities, Jimbei would be instantly propelled to the top 4 or 5 of the Straw Hats already. In the first arc, he's with us, which we all saw coming. We all know that he's a top tier fighter, but if Black Maria is stronger than Who's Who and Brooke and Robin beat her, then what's going to happen with the power scalings, or would it not really matter since it's a 2v1? That's really up to the fan base to decide, but sometimes I know that Oda does like to give out those rankings, and he's done that essentially throughout the entire series. We have that with the Whitebeard Commanders, we have that with Enies Lobbies with the CP9 Dodeki, we have that with essentially anybody we fight, because they just kind of line themselves up to where their rankings are the same rankings as the Straw Hats. You know, Luffy fighting the captain, Zoro fighting the right-hand man, Sanji fighting the third in command, and then the rest kind of being divided otherwise. So that's just my personal thing. I fucking love rankings. If an anime does this thing where it's like, oh, that's the number 1 fighter over there, and that's the number 3 over there, I ooze over that. I love that so much. I love that shonens usually do that. So yeah, before I get too sidetracked, let me know your Tobi Roppo rankings down below. So now, on to the final part of the chapter, and I'm assuming the most clickbaity part of this video. It is, what is the mystery behind Who's Who and Luffy's Devil Fruit? Was Luffy's Devil Fruit widely sought throughout the world's government? Personally, I don't think so. I really hope it isn't. The reason I don't want Luffy's Devil Fruit to be this weird prophecy like, oh, Roger had the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or Joy Boy had the Gomu Gomu no Mi. The reason I don't want that is because that makes what Luffy is doing feel cheap. It makes Luffy's adventure feel like it wasn't up to him in the first place. It's just because his Devil Fruit is overpowered, and we do not want that. Every fight that Luffy has fought, he didn't just win because he had the Gomu Gomu no Mi. That was not a main factor. It was, but you know what I mean? Like, it was Luffy fighting because of his willpower, because of his friends and the journey that he's on. It's not because the Gomu Gomu no Mi is Joy Boy's Devil Fruit and therefore it's just inherently overpowered. If Oda actually made this some weird prophecy where the Gomu Gomu no Mi is this crazy Devil Fruit that everybody's been looking for because Joy Boy had it, it just feels cheap. And honestly, I'm excited because I feel like that's not the case at all. Me reading One Piece, you reading One Piece for over 1,000 chapters, Oda has never really pulled some weird ass pull like this before. So I'm pretty confident when I say that this is not going to be the case. And people are also speculating that Roger had the Devil Fruit, which I think is just kind of ridiculous. Because if that was the case, then you think that Rayleigh or Shanks or really Buggy or anybody who knows Roger personally would have a bigger reaction than just saying, oh, look, he has the Gomu Gomu no Mi. It would be more like, oh shit, that was Roger's Devil Fruit. What is he doing with that? You know, like it's just not the case. So personally, there's only about 3 theories that I've seen so far that I'm kind of leaning towards as to why Who's Who was imprisoned for losing the Devil Fruit that Luffy now has, that aren't prophecy related. The first one, which I kind of find enjoyable, is that a celestial dragon really wanted the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which is plausible because if you even so much as touch a celestial dragon, they can initiate a buster call and destroy an island, right? Like they can call an admiral and just all hell breaks loose. So if you were to lose something that they were excited about, like a Devil Fruit, I can very easily see them saying, hey, Who's Who? Send me to jail, out of here. I don't want this fucker in my sight. Theory number 2 is another good one as well. And this one has to do with the fact that Who's Who is actually more important than we think. Who's Who wears a mask, and this mask just so happens to cover his eyes and his forehead. And Who's Who also has a weird, tattoo that has the shape of an eye on his chest. So what if he's actually a member of the 3-Eyed tribe and he can read the poneglyphs and he can just hear voices and shit? What if he's very important and the world government sees that he could potentially be a threat in the future, and they were really just looking for any excuse to jail him? And when he failed that mission, they're like, oh, we didn't really care about the devil fruit, but who's who? We can't have somebody like this in the world government because he might be a problem later down the road. He could expose some secrets. He knows too much. He can learn about the Void Century. We have to throw him in jail. So that's another theory. The final theory, which is really just kind of factual, is just that the world government loves devil fruits. They hoard them, they hoard them, they hoard them. They want to have this giant stockpile, and then they want to give it out to captains, admirals, yada yada yada. And that's what we saw in Eni's lobby. Because in Eni's lobby, Kaku didn't have a devil fruit. And then here comes Spandam just saying, here's this devil fruit, eat it, courtesy of the world government. They love their devil fruits. Honestly, in a world where Navy and pirates fight like every other Sunday, why wouldn't you want this giant power boost known as a devil fruit on the side of the Navy? Like, if you lose that, boom, a pirate has it and now you have to fight him later. And that's a huge headache because we know personally that that is a huge headache. That is exactly what happened. Who's Who lost Luffy's devil fruit, or, it got stolen from him, and then now spawns Luffy. Luffy is this up-and-comer. He's considered the 5th Emperor of the Sea. He is such a headache. But if he didn't have the devil fruit, maybe none of this would have happened at all. Which I would argue that it would anyways. I feel like if Luffy didn't have a devil fruit, he'd either find one later on, or he'd just get really, really insanely good with Haki, and he would just destroy everybody anyways. But anyways, that's the end of this video. What do you guys think the reasoning behind Luffy's prophetic devil fruit may be? What do you think about the Tobiropo rankings? What do you think about the matchup between Jack and Inuarashi? And what do you think about weird baby old man Dr. Chopper and Zoro coming back to life, essentially? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. My name is Sai. Thanks for watching. If you have up to this point, please consider liking the video, subscribing. It really means a lot. And yes, it is now 6 a.m. Or not 6. Oh, Jesus, my time zone's messed up. It is now 3 a.m. So anyways, guys, that's a big jump. 3 and 6. That's anyways, guys, have a good night, y'all. Catch you guys in the Guilty Gear Tower. Have a good one.